Miss Kendall, why don't you just tell me a little bit about yourself?
So I am 11. I am turning 12 next week.
Yep.
Um, I've had a lot of problems just kind of with sports in general, but just knowing that I pushed through it feels great.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a lot about pushing through challenges today because you're a rock star with pushing through challenges. So we're going to dig into all of that today. And then do you mind sharing a little bit kind of about your sports background specifically? Like
So
what sport do you play? How long have you played it? Where do you do it at? All the things.
so I do cheer, and my sister used to do cheer, so I've done cheer kind of since I was born pretty much. And I made my first actual team, I think at the age of like 6 or 5.
Yeah.
So I've done it for a long time and it's come a long ways for me and it's kind of really personal to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So, this is just kind of, I'm just curious about this, but what's your favorite part of cheer? Like, what's your favorite thing about cheerleading and being a cheerleader?
Mm, Probably at the season comes.
Yeah.
Just knowing that you put in so much hard work and now you get to like celebrate and like go to all the fun parks and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of fun stuff. There's also some challenges. I know with competition, there's also a lot of like hard feelings that come with it and nerves and all that stuff. And you've done a really good job pushing through all of that. So I'd love to kind of dig into that in just a little bit. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, why don't you share with me? So, before mental coaching, so you're one of our Mind Over Mental Block athletes.
yeah,
I know a lot of athletes kind of look at mental coaching as a quick fix, or they've tried everything else and it hasn't worked, and then they came across me and my site, and they're like, this is interesting. But mental game, I mean, it's an essential part of success in cheer. And so you're one of our athletes that really, you and your parents see the value in that, and knowing that those skills being strong is so essential for cheer. So it's not just good for when you're struggling, right? It's good just
yeah,
to have this consistent work on your mindset and your mental game. So you stay mentally tough and you keep your confidence high all year round, right?
yeah.
I love that. Well, before mental coaching, what were some of your biggest challenges? Why don't you give people a sneak peek at when you started with us, kind of what you were dealing with?
Really, my mental block started when I was on a level 2 team.
Mhm.
I kind of just forced myself to throw my skills because I was kind of just scared to get yelled at by them. But then when I made a level 3 team, it really started to show and it got bad. And I would only do skills with a pause. And there was a point where I wouldn't even throw a tuck or a standing tuck. Then, but that also didn't help that I was in almost like a lot of passes that year too. So it was really hard for me. And then I got better and I started like working on my full and stuff and I was doing really good. And then it came for the next season. I made a level 4 and everything just came crashing down. I wouldn't even throw my back handspring. I'd only do like back walkovers and stuff like that. And then kind of as the season came on, I'd only do standing tucks into stuff. And my back handsprings were like, I'd sometimes throw them. It was very rarely though. And then towards the end of that season, I started, and that's when I moved. And that's where a lot of my stuff kind of happened. I started slowly where I'd start throwing my back handsprings with the spot connected to like a round off and stuff like that. And it slowly just kind of kept building and building up.
Yeah. Yeah, which is awesome seeing that progress, and that motivation comes back, and all lots of good stuff with that too. So I love that. A lot of focus, which thank you for taking me through that kind of journey. And I knew it, but I love for you to share with that so people kind of understand what it's like, because I think sometimes with mental blocks it can feel very lonely. And sometimes it
Yeah,
can feel like nobody else gets what I'm dealing with, like nobody else can relate, but that's actually true, right? I mean, I know we know that to be true because we've got a whole community of athletes we support that are dealing with challenges, but it's kind of nice to hear firsthand from someone that's your age, right? That
yeah,
they're normal part of the process, unfortunately. So Absolutely. Well, good. Well, so mental coaching. I would love to hear, and you're not going to hurt my feelings, but for a lot of people, when they first come across it, it's like, this is weird. Like, what is this? I've never heard of it before. Like, it seems kind of crazy. Like, what, what's going on? So I would love to just kind of hear, what were some of like maybe your hesitations or like, what did you think the very first time we ever talked? Like, what did you think, what was kind of going through your head? If you can remember that back that far.
So it kind of started where I kept trying to find other counselors. And really, it was more just kind of like, it wasn't actually really anything about actual like sports. So then, right when my dad found you, I was
Mhm.
terrified.
Tell me how you really feel, Kendall. No. What were you
And,
terrified of?
well, I'm a really shy person, and I hate talking and meeting new people.
Yeah. Is that actually so now though, fast forward, you're talking like is that still true for you that you hate talking in front of people?
It kind of depends on the people and what situation I'm in. I
Yeah.
know I'm still barely talk at school, but
Yeah. Is it because you choose not to talk or is it because you're shy?
it's a little bit of both,
Yeah.
honestly.
It's a lot. It depends on how you look at it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that phrase shy, that's one of my pet peeves a little bit because I'm like, when we put that label out there, it's like it feels like a bad thing almost. It's like, oh, I'm shy, I can't. But actually, it's like you're actually just really observant. You're just very thoughtful about when you choose to speak, right? I think that's fun. But that's so funny. Yeah, so shy, like don't know this person, don't want to talk to this person, and then what happened?
So then I remember we were like at my mom's job at the time because we couldn't find any other time to meet. And I kept going into like separate rooms and stuff. And it was really uncomfortable talking about it because I didn't tell my parents everything.
Yeah,
So I somewhat skimmed some things
yeah,
on it and I like barely talked at all.
yeah, yeah. And then how did you feel after the call? Was it as bad as you thought you were going to be? It was going
It
to
wasn't
be?
as bad, but it was still, I was like, oh, did I even say the right things?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so important, right? Because a lot of times, just like you go to practice and you want to make your coaches happy, you don't want to upset anybody, like your teachers, you want to give the right answer. Sometimes with athletes and like our coaching relationship, we get that same thing where it's like you want to make us proud or not say the wrong thing, or you want to say the exact right thing. And sometimes that feels like a lot of pressure. So then you started meeting with Coach Mo, and who's awesome, by the way. And did it get more comfortable for you after you got started? What do you think?
It got a little bit comfortable. I was still kind of hesitant at first, and really, I just listened and kind of just watched through like all these things that she'd put on the screen, and like really the only things I would say is yes, no,
Yeah,
like standing tuck.
yeah,
And those are the only words I'd say.
yeah, absolutely. But you worked through it, right? And then what happened? What shifted for you as you kept going working the program?
I guess as she kind of like, I could tell that she kind of was like trying to figure it out. So she kept asking more kind of like questions about it. And I guess that's what kind of started to open my shell and stuff, where like I kind of got a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So athletes your age get a lot of feedback. What I mean by that is most people in your life probably tell you what to do, right? Your coaches tell you what to do, your teachers tell you what to do, your parents tell you what to do. And so with mental coaching, it's a little bit different because we're trying to get you to create your own thoughts and feelings about things. We're curious about what's going on in your head, right? So a lot of it is at first, it does take a little adjusting when you're not used to it because you're used to being told, you're not used having someone ask questions and being curious about how you feel and think because you probably didn't pay attention or spend much time thinking about what you were thinking about.
No.
No. So it's very new. But what so for you, what has been possible? So you stuck it out. So you worked through the discomfort and the scare. And by the way, it's scary to try new things, always. It's just in general in life, like scary to try new things. We like to stay where we're at. Like it's part of our brain's protection system where it's like just Don't do anything new. If you just stay right there, cozy in your cute little room right there, nothing bad will ever happen, right? But that's not actually good for us in reality. So pushing through that discomfort can actually give you an opportunity to kind of see what you're made of and grow. Would you say that's true?
Yeah.
So fast forward, and so what has been possible for you going from not consistent in your skills, lots of fear, lots of challenges and all the things, and then to now, like tell me a little bit about what's changed.
So I figured out that mostly using mental cues and doing weekly goals have been really helpful. Just knowing I don't have to make the big step from doing a standing tuck to a toe tuck to a layout or anything crazy like that. That just taking it tiny steps at a time really helps. And I also have this one coach that I have, and we kind of told him what was happening. And now, like every week, when Mo sends me my stuff after, I send it to him so that way he knows what we're going to be doing. And it's not like he's forcing me to do anything. He's like slightly pushing me out of my comfort zone, but still to the point where I can actually do it and I'm not going to have like a panic attack or anything like I used to have.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's more accountability, right? So it's having a plan that you created with the help of your mental coach and just having someone in the gym that understands that you're trying really hard and you do have goals and there are things you want to accomplish and that you want to move towards, but forcing things and like setting those big expectations, that's not what's helpful, right? It's helpful when you actually craft your own goals and plans and you know what to do when you walk into the gym to make progress on those and your coach is right alongside you. I think too, a lot of times athletes think that because they have a gym and a coach in the gym, that that's really all they need. But for us as mental coaches, we actually partner with gym. Like we partner with coaches in the gym because we have a very specific specialty that they don't necessarily have. And like we're not in the gym with you. So we need the coaches in the gym. So when we have that relationship like you have, where your mental coach and your coach and you were all kind of on the same page and everyone in your world knows what you're working on, it's actually really helpful for you. Do you feel like that let a lot of pressure off and that helped you kind of move forward in your skills?
Yeah, it did help a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So what would you say to others who have had challenges in the past like you and maybe are back in that place or they started to make progress but they feel like they're not going fast enough? Like you said, little baby steps is the magic, right? That's where it happens. But sometimes that feels really hard when there's so much you want to accomplish, right? Or feel like you need to accomplish. So what would you say to an athlete who's challenging or having challenges like you did?
Well, in that one little time period where I was like throwing everything and kind of forcing skills, the minute I did something wrong, I'd force myself to do it again and again and again. And that's how I kept building it back up. But that's because I wasn't actually thinking about what I was doing and like the parts of it. I was just thinking, chuck it, do it. You have this, just go for it.
Yep.
When really you need to start thinking to yourself, like, I know I can do this. I have my training, my coach is right there. They all believe in me. I have steps, I have techniques, and just kind of taking like baby steps pretty much and just kind of going from like maybe doing like it on the tramp by yourself into the pit, maybe start doing it like on the tramp, landing on the tramp with maybe a spot if you need it, and taking those tiny little steps into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things that, well, first of all, thank you for sharing that. I think that's really helpful for people to hear. Like, again, we spend so much time thinking about what's not working. We don't really think about what works. And so it's really helpful that with someone who's been through it to have guidance. It's like, oh, this really helped me. It can help you too. So I think that's really cool. One of the go-to approaches for overcoming mental blocks is physical, right? Like, well, let's just get in the gym. Let's just keep doing rep after rep after rep. But you said you felt like before you were forcing your skills as opposed to now you're not forcing it. You're very thoughtful about, you have a plan, you know what to think about while you're doing your skills. So what's different now when you, like exactly what you just said, right? When you move to the tramp or you move around the gym to do those baby steps, what's different today compared to, because I'm sure in the past you've tried that. You've tried to do different drills and reps and private lessons and things. So what's different now compared to then?
Back then, it was kind of, I was just letting my coach just tell me what to do almost. And I didn't really like, it almost felt like that I wasn't letting myself control what I can actually do.
Yeah.
And it felt like I was just kind of like letting somebody control me almost. And I guess that's kind of somewhat where it started. Like, kind of like when they say, hey, go do this. I want to see if you have this. Like, it's them pretty much forcing you to do it. So, kind of when I think about it, I said, okay, they know I can do it. They believe in me. I
Mhm.
need to believe in me, take my steps to know that I can do it.
Yeah, I love that. So before it was then I have to do this because my coach expects me to. Pressure, right? Panic attacks. Lots of that kind of stuff. Versus now it's you're taking ownership, you're reframing those thoughts. So the coach is probably doing a similar thing, right? It's not dramatically different on what they're telling you to do, but you're processing it totally different than you did before.
Yeah.
Yeah, before you allowed it to put pressure on you, now you're focusing. You even said like you feel ownership. You feel like you're in control of your skills. That's a big deal. Yeah, people forget about that. Again, mental coaching is looked at as this like, nothing else has worked and this sounds like this is different. So, what is it? But it's more than that. It's not just about like trying to have a quick fix and get your skills all the way back. It's feeling more in control. It's reprogramming how you think about what you're doing in the gym so that you're in control. So you're in control of your skills, but you're also in control of your confidence. You are way more confident talking to me today than you were when we first talked. You're talking a lot more, which is awesome, right? The trust you mentioned, even just, well, I'm doing it because my coach is there and they've got me, but you're trusting yourself more. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. How does it feel like when you go to practice now? Because in the past, the panic, like all the stuff, I can imagine it felt very different going to practice compared to like now when you think about it. Tell me about that a little bit.
Now, I feel like if I don't feel comfortable with something, I tell myself, I do almost like a preview kind of in my head. I don't remember what we call it, but it's like I close my eyes and I see myself doing it. And then if I still don't feel confident, I just ask like one of the coaches that I trust and I know that they understand what I'm doing
Mhm.
to spot me and say, hey, I don't feel comfortable. I don't know why, but can you spot this? I want to see if I can do one of my tricks that I've been taught and kind of use some of your tricks that you've been taught and kind of use them to use whenever you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. So you're actually speaking up for what you need. Yeah. Instead of just sitting there like, oh my gosh, if I don't go, it's not going to happen. So when you think that way, like how you used to think, it's kind of stressful to think about going to practice, especially if you know, well, like the good coach that I trust isn't going to be there, or I'm not going to be able to, like it's a class, everybody's going to be like we get these ideas about how things are going to be in our head. And a lot of times it's very stressful and it causes a lot of athletes to actually avoid working on their skills and not
Yeah.
wanting to practice, right? Like you just let the air track collect dust down there. Like just
Yeah.
don't even want to do it. But when you know that you're in more control and you're comfortable enough with you and your plan and where you're at that you can ask for help when you need it, that makes you excited to go to practice. It's more motivating. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So you've accomplished some really big things over the last several months. I would love to hear what's your biggest, like, what are you most proud of?
Mm, probably going from like terrified of coaches, never wanting to go to practice, pretty much
Yeah.
what you just said, and
Yeah.
terrified to go to practice, trying to convince my parents to let me stay at school,
Yeah.
to them feeling comfortable and confident, knowing that I can go in and throw my level 5 skills like I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So throwing your level five still skills. So share with me like what are you able to just go in and confidently throw today?
Today I can do anything back handsprings to layout. I can do jumps to tucks.
Yeah.
I haven't fully got my my full yet because I'm still working on those baby steps to it. But
Yeah.
right now, I literally just threw my whip for the first time yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I saw that in Coach Mo's notes. I was so excited to see that.
Yeah, and then I'm doing my punch front step out, which I haven't done in a long time either. And
Yeah.
everything I just said is through to a tuck or a layout or
Yeah.
whatever I feel comfortable of.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's awesome. So you're not only doing skills that you know you can do, right? Because a lot of athletes, it's like, well, I know I can do it, but then there's like tension because it's not happening. It's really frustrating. But like you're connected now, right? It's like I know I can do it. I believe I can do it, and I trust myself to do it. So you're letting your skills happen like you know you can. But then you're also working new skills, right? That we call that seeing past the block, getting excited again about what's possible for you. Because a lot of athletes, like when they start with us, you can probably relate to this. It's like they're struggling and they just want to be like just normal again, right? It's like I just want to get rid of the bad stuff. Like just help me be okay. But then you get to this point where you get to start looking towards the good stuff. Like what's next for me? What goal do I want to achieve? And you're seeing that today, which is really cool.
Yeah. I guess one thing that has also helped me is
Yeah.
that I was honestly thinking of quitting cheer. I mean, my parents even told me, if I'm not going to do it, just quit. We're not going to pay this money. So I was looking into other sports
Hmm.
because I didn't know if I even wanted to do cheer anymore. And I definitely wasn't going to go back to gymnastics because the only thing I was to be able to do was floor.
Yeah.
So I started looking into other sports. I looked into soccer, which I used to do all the time with my brother.
Yeah.
I looked into softball, which my sister did. And even though I didn't quit cheer, I still took place in those other sports for my school. I didn't actually do it like competitively,
Yeah.
but I did for my school. So at the beginning of the year, when I started with the program, I also did cross country.
Hmm.
So that way I could kind of have that break, like, oh, I don't need to worry about anything. I'm not at school and
Yeah.
like I'm not stressed about cheer. And then I kind of took a break from doing school sports and then I did track and field, which
Hmm.
actually just ended. And it's kind of good, like knowing, hey, my life isn't just about cheer or just about school.
Yeah.
It's about everything else too that comes with the experience.
Yeah, I love that. And that is something that we've talked a lot about. I know you and Coach Mo have talked about it in your sessions. A lot of times it's, I am a cheerleader, right? Like you let your sport define you. And that's really hard when you're struggling because if a lot of times it bleeds over. So it starts out as struggled in one, like a struggle in one skill. And then it's like all of tumbling and then the sport. And then it's like it just kind of bleeds over. And that's
Yeah.
not helpful. So the one thing, the kudos to you is that you actually gave yourself permission to take a break. And it's not because sometimes it's really challenging when fear runs us away from our sport, right? Like you said, like you always thought, like, do I want to even continue? Is it even worth continuing? I did the same thing when I cheered because I had blocks, right? Every season I was like, oh, I don't think I want to do it. There's no way. And I'd ended up trying out and I was glad I did, but I still dealt with those challenges. But a lot of athletes, it's almost like their identity is wrapped up so much in what they're doing that if they didn't have their sport, it's like, who am I?
Yeah.
Right? It's really challenging. So for you to give yourself permission to strategically take a break so that you could focus on who you are as a person and all your other amazing, amazing talents, it actually helped free you up to return to the sport that you love and start doing a really, really being really proud of what you're accomplishing.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
Yeah, but it's not only that too, it's also knowing that I can learn new things,
Yeah.
not just in one sport, because I'd never run a hurdle in my life. And I did the very first meet for the first time,
Yeah.
and I ended up getting one of the better scores in sixth grade.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, change is so scary, but you just told me that actually trying new things, it shows you what you're capable of. So you can be proud of yourself and who you are. Like, hey, I do awesome things. So then when you have an opportunity like you trying new skills in tumbling, you're excited to try them as opposed to, oh, I don't think I can do that.
Yeah.
Or holding yourself back because you're like, well, it needs to be perfect the very first time I try it. It's like, no, just give yourself permission to learn new things. I love that. That's so much fun. Well, awesome, Kendall. So what is one mental game tip? If someone listening to this forgot every single thing we talked about, and they only walked away with one takeaway, what would you say is the most important thing? What was the biggest game changer for you?
Trust the process no matter how long it takes, because honestly, I never thought it was going to happen even after starting, which
Yeah.
is like all of the things that we did and all of those sheets and all of the mental cues and all of that stuff. But honestly, when you're done and you push through it and then you start to actually see it, you get so proud of yourself that you actually did it. Like, I never thought I was going to get through level 1 and 2 of the mental game thing. I never thought I was going to do it. I thought I was like, it honestly felt like school for a while. But
Yeah.
then realizing that it was actually helping me and that I was
Yeah.
gaining new things and also trying out new things that I never thought I'd actually be trying
Yeah.
helped a lot, knowing I can do this and like it doesn't always have to be about one thing.
Yeah, I love that. So again, like giving yourself permission to try new things, even if it feels hard at first or uncomfortable, right? And I know it's hard too. Like you have homework, you have like conditioning, you have all these things that are a part of the process that aren't the most fun. And so for our program, you get the coaching sessions, and you also get access to our curriculum and our workbook. And I try to make it as fun as humanly possible, but it's still sitting down and doing the work, right? But you're saying just getting through that discomfort initially and then putting it into action. Once you see it in action, you're like, I'm really glad that I did that, even though it wasn't, it was a little bit harder.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so awesome. Well, Kendall, thank you so much for sharing your story with me.
Yeah.
You did such a good job.